Hello everyone, and welcome to Live 1000 Years. I'm your host and author, attorney Brent Jordan. I like to summarize books that have inspired and influenced me in the writing of my book. Today we're going to be looking at an incredible book called Happier. It was written by a Harvard professor named Tal Ben-Shahar. He basically teaches this class at Harvard and has a huge amount of students. In fact, one year he had more students in his class than any other class at Harvard University. I've discussed this book in 3 parts. Today is part 3. If you haven't seen them already, go to part 1, which is his definition of what is happiness, and part 2, where he applies happiness. In What is Happiness, he basically says that happiness is when we have thoughts and take actions which give us pleasure in the present moment and which also give us meaning and purpose in the future. In the second part, where he applies happiness, he teaches us how to flow, how to find a job, career, or calling in our life whereby we find it pleasurable, where we find it meaningful and it satisfies our abilities and intelligence. In part 3 of the book, he calls meditations on happiness and goes into 7 meditations. The first meditation is called Self-Interest and Benevolence. And Dr. Ben-Shahar asks us to pursue activities that make you happy instead of other people happy. That you don't have to make a choice between helping yourself and helping others. That no person can love or help another person until he or she loves and helps themselves first. Thus, the ultimate goal to find happiness is to pursue activities that provide pleasure and meaning for yourself in the present and the future, as well as help other people in the present and the future. Meditation number 2 he calls happiness boosters. Now, these are activities such as hobbies that you have in your life or other activities that challenge you outside of your work. They can last only a few minutes or they can last several hours, but they provide you with a quick happiness boost in an otherwise uninspiring period of time. The best time to pursue them, he says, is when you've come home from school or work or on the weekends. The third meditation he calls Beyond the Temporary High. He says that a person's happiness is primarily determined by 3 factors in life. First, our genetic disposition, which is how we were born, our so-called happiness gene that we have no control over. The second factor is our circumstances in life, where we were born, the family that we're raised with, the society and culture that we live in. And finally, the third factor is the activities and practices that we pursue. It's this third factor that he says offers us the best opportunities to control and sustain a permanent level of happiness in our life. Thus, to pursue pleasure and meaningful education, work, and relationships should be our highest goal in life. The fourth meditation he calls Letting Our Light Shine. What he says is that to lead a happy life, we must experience a sense of inherent worthiness in ourselves, a feeling that we are adequate and are powerful beyond any measure. We must therefore learn to appreciate our core self, who we really are, and that we deserve to be happy. The fifth meditation he calls Imagine. He challenges us to think and act each day as if it's the last day of our lives. And he talks about terminally ill people and how they look back on their life and the values that they saw in their life, which were basically creative things that they had done, places they had visited, and relationships with people. We must therefore confront the fact that someday we are gonna die, and thus learn to appreciate each and every day of our lives while we walk upon the earth. The sixth meditation he calls Take Your Time. He says that we must simplify our lives. We must slow down, do less, rather than more. When there's too many demands upon our time and our attention, we lose our ability to live in the moment and thus appreciate and find pleasure in our present experiences. He talks about a concept known as time affluence. It's the feeling that we have sufficient time to pursue our activities that give us pleasure in the moment and meaning in the future, and therefore to reflect upon ourselves and to engage in leisure. The seventh and final meditation he calls the happiness revolution. He says that happiness is the ultimate goal in life, that it's the end toward which all other goals are heading towards. For example, if you believe your goal in life is to have a lot of money, that's not your goal, because money is just paper. Your money is a means to an end, which is happiness. It's a means to create safety and security in your life and to have personal freedom in the future. That even having a beautiful home and cars and clothes and televisions, stereos, they're all means to an end, which is happiness. In the past, he says, science made us believe that the only thing that exists in the world is material items, and therefore that the pursuit of material wealth became the highest goal. He goes on to say that therefore happiness and spirituality were not material and thus discarded and immaterial. He concludes by saying the happiness revolution doesn't reject science and material things in the pursuit of them. It simply dethrones them as the highest goal in life. The happiness revolution is all about changing from material perception to happiness perception. Happiness perception is the mental and emotional well-being of ourselves, and thus it's internal instead of external and material. Unlike material possessions, which are finite, happiness can be infinite. The book ends with a theme of that we were born into this world with no material possessions. When we were born, we had absolutely nothing, just our naked bodies. And that when we die, we're going to leave this world without any material possessions as well. And therefore, strive every day for happiness, which is to think and act every day so that you have pleasure in the moment, in the present, and that such actions also give you meaning and purpose for your future. That concludes part 3 Like I said, if you haven't seen part 2 or 1, please view those. Also, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, Live 1,000 Years, for future summaries of great books that have influenced me and inspired me in my life. Hope they will inspire you too.